Yo, what's up? Good morning. Hope everybody had a great weekend. It was a little bit of a longer weekend for me. So, first stream of the week today, Tuesday. So, let me just start by saying that I didn't have that much time to research stuff this weekend, but I had some time to think. And I think this week is going to be quite interesting eventually. But it's probably going to start off really slow. So, I've said that my focus is on the terraforming part of the game. From now on, also terraforming gameplay and terraforming in general. From now until I can release some sort of small playtest that just includes the terraforming part. So that is what we're going to continue with. It feels like we have come a really long way when it comes to the terrain and the terraforming. So like we have a custom terrain that is alterable. We support water with a rather simple fluid solver, but still it does its job. We have started getting some visuals in with the grass and the water, although it's not finished just yet. But I feel like we're at a pretty good point, and the underlying systems are quite good, but we have come to a point where we're gonna have to extend it, I think, to include some of these stuff we want to do next. So for instance, I would like to include, so the water for instance is quite basic as of now. We have a simple solver that runs on a separate thread and updates now and then. And it does it based on the terrain. When it comes to this water shader and water in general, we would like to have like interactions with it. We would like to have visualize the flow of the water. So for instance, when we go down here, we would like to add some flow. We would add edge foams and stuff like that, and to be able to do that in a way that looks quite good, we're gonna have to extend the underlying terrain system. I think there exists some approaches to doing edge foam, like I've said my piece about what I think about the simple view space distance edge foam. I don't think it looks good. I don't think it works good. It's just a very simple and cost-effective way to do some sort of edge foam. And there exist solutions, or you can implement it in such a way that you bring down performance without touching the underlying systems. I think so what I've been thinking about is that we're going to extend the underlying system to support these things and hopefully not bring down the performance. Dvalin87, what up? Virtual texture question mark. What do you mean by virtual texture? And right now, the underlying terrain system, or the garden system, I would say, it keeps track of everything in the garden that this is going to be. So, not everything, but very specific stuff. Like, I think we have height, so terrain height, terrain foliage, water height, and yeah, I think that's about it. I think we have one timestamp as well. And this is currently stored in textures. you can actually say that we want some of it as textures because we want to make the communication between CPU and GPU easy. But I think we're gonna have to rework the underlying system in such a way that we move away from textures as the base data storage and move to a custom struct and native arrays. I think it will be best for everything if we do that, and then we just have some parts that are easily convertible to textures if they are needed on the GPU. Dvalin, you can use in camera on top to do the foam, writing a virtual texture to watershed if you don't want to use depth write to foam. Yes, exactly. That's what I mean by degrading the performance, because then we add a second camera. Which writes stuff to a texture every frame. I mean, that's a good solution and you get good results from it, but we're gonna have a lot of data concerning the terrain already, so my preferred approach would be to utilize those instead of introducing a second camera, right? And when we get to water interaction, you're entirely correct. Although, depending on how you do it, you will always have the problem of that you only affect what's seen in view. So if you affect something, look away and then look back, you won't see the previously affected stuff, which is not that big of a problem when it comes to water. But if we're talking snow or mud or something like that, we're gonna have some problems with the second camera approach, I think. You use it for terrain height map anyway. I use what for terrain height map? But, so I think at the end of this week we're gonna do some very interesting stuff. But at the start of this week, I think we're gonna do cleanup, commit everything, and just put the terrain system at version 0.1 or something. We're gonna, as we have it now, we're gonna package it as this is the first version, and then we're gonna start extending it. The data of the height you will use for the edge foam. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We already have a lot of data we can use for edge foam eventually. We're just gonna have to package it a little bit more nicely, I think. We'll see what we do. Let's start with the cleanup first. I'm using URP for this. Because as it stands now, we have a lot of uncommented stuff. Most of this is actually just, or some of the things are stuff we're not gonna commit. But yeah, first of all, let's package this up, version 0.1, and then let's start extending it. I'm talking mostly about terrain data type. Yeah, it's this one I want to move away from. So this is pretty much just a class to handle conversion between byte data and texture data, make it easier. And we're gonna go with something like terrain data. Where do we have it? Terrain mesh. Terrain patch mesh data. This one, we're probably gonna extend this one the most. And I'm thinking about, instead of having some data as textures, we might as well put it as, pack it into the UV here. But yeah, we'll see. Okay. Great start. Okay, let's start with this one. We're gonna remove some unused stuff as well during this cleanup. What do we have? Derek, hey, I had to do something for a second there and missed it. What are you working on today? I just said that today is probably going to be quite boring. We're just going to package everything we have up. This is pretty much version 0.1 of the terrain system. We're going to clean the project up, remove files we don't use, commit files that have changed or with unstaged changes. And just prepare everything for the week to come, because we're gonna extend the underlying systems in such a way that we can allow for some of the future functionality we need. Mostly talked about how I want to differentiate between data. Like when it comes to the terrain, we pretty much have two different types of data. We have data that needs to be easily available to the CPU, and then we have data that needs to be easily available to the CPU and the GPU. And I think it's important to differentiate between those two, because right now we have implemented in such a way that all the data is assumed to be used both on the CPU and the GPU, and that's not true, but that assumption leads us to we have implemented the data that only needs on the CPU in a very unoptimized way. And that's one of the first things I want to change. But we will see where it takes us. Did I commit this one now? Yes, good. So what I'm gonna do now actually is we're gonna do environment, Terraform terrain indirect terrain instanced. Right now we don't use this one nor this one. I'm gonna delete them. I can do this. Okay, that's one thing done. What do we have more? Environment controller. We just include the sun and set the global matrix. This is purely used for caustics right now, but I'm thinking we pretty much have access to not this matrix, but some properties of the light in the shaders without doing this. So if we could solve the caustics without this one, it would be the best. This also limits it to only the main light. But for now this is okay, so let's commit this. Environment controller. I don't know if I have environment singleton 87. Might add these. When it comes to this one, I had to do some quick fixes this Friday. We can remove this one now, I think. Do we have any scripts that are unchanged now? Yeah, we do. In MISC constraints. This one shouldn't be tools. Okay, we're gonna wait with those. So the only scripts we have left are in MISC. That's good. Shaders, shaders, shaders. So procedural grass, what have we changed here? Added 2 empty lines. This one, yes. Haven't really decided how I want to do with this one exactly. So it's data we use most, or data is pretty much the newest thing we add here. I wonder, input, do we use it for anything eventually? Yeah, we just do it here. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this one, or this solution. We like to avoid this entirely, and I think we can. I think this one is only used for one thing. Terrain texture data generation. We're gonna check this render feature later on. See if we can get rid of it. But as it is now, we take the data, we pretty much use it, we send in the data. Oh yeah, okay. Terrain, patch, mesh data. We send in the data here. This is pretty much what I would like to do eventually, but yeah, we send it in color right now. Which is not that bad. But then again, okay, let's see here what happens. In procedural grass, when we render this one, we render into a texture. And this was something we did real quick to just test if we could get some visuals we wanted for the water. So terrain, procedural water. It's committed. It's down to this texture. If we can get around not using this one, it would be very nice. Right now we use it here, terrain data. So this is the one we sample for it. And then this one we use, yeah, water depthing world space. We use it for outline color as well. It's this one I'm questioning the most. Let's see if we can do some drawings to make this make sense. If we can manage to achieve what we achieve using this one but without it. So if we have terrain, we have water, we have the camera looking in this direction, maybe not the best. So here we pretty much create a texture much like very similar to what you can do to create or to get a data texture for water interaction, water foam, whatever, foliage interaction. We create a texture, but we don't add a new camera. We use the current camera's view, and we create a texture that represents every terrain data seen from the camera. And currently we only use this to figure out so this is pretty much water depth in world space, while this would be water depth in view space. So water depth in world space, it's actually the depth in full vertical, and this is water depth in view space. So the depth we get here is from this point to this point. So it's a question of, can we get this one without it? Because right now when we render the terrain, we render this point to the texture. So for this pixel we will have terrain height, we will have the water height and everything else. And it's the water height we're looking for, because if we do it the other way around, so if we do it in the water shader, which we're currently in, then we're rendering this pixel, right? We know the water height for this pixel, but we don't know the ground height for that pixel. Does it matter? Does it matter? Because what we want to do then is scene position in world space. Yeah, so here we calculate the scene position, and we do that because we want dynamic objects as well. So we pretty much calculate this position, and then we since we're going UV and depth to recalculate this position, we know that the UVs correspond to this point, and that's why we can get the water depth in world space here. Because what I'm afraid of, if we just rely on terrain data, then we know the UV here, and we know we can get the ground value here, but we can't get any dynamics. Okay, so if we just rely on terrain data, we calculate this point in world space, and if we have that point in world space, we can do, let's see here. Yeah, it's the problem of splitting up the terrain into different terrain patches, because that means that we might not if we take if we're rendering this water and we have a terrain split at we have a terrain split here, then that means that the data we actually want to read here, because we want to figure out the world space depth, we get the scene depth, but we can't read this value. We're trying to render this pixels, which is part of this patch, but to properly do it we need access to this one, and yeah, that's what sucks. But then again, let's see here. Yeah, it depends on how we solve the it's pretty much only this one we use it for, right? We use it here. Calculate caustic value. Calculate the same thing twice here. Oh, whatever. So it's pretty much only this one, water depth in world space. Depth multiplier. Fuck, is it only this one? That would be nice, because then we can probably skip it right now. If it's only for the caustics, it's no problem at all. Yeah, it's only for the caustics. Okay, let's see if we can get the caustics to work, to look nice-ish without it. Although, let's take a look. Procedural water. Yeah, we just do scene depth and everything here. Yeah, that's what we want. Would be real nice to be able to remove this one. Caustics, that doesn't really look that good to begin with. Okay, so if we do where do we have it? So it's pretty much just difference between what we have here, barely visible caustics, 3.5. We can do 10. Difference between this and calculate caustics value, water depth, VS, we do it here. Caustics min depth. The other way around. This, yeah, it's that we get caustics a little bit higher up. I think that's okay as long as we add 3.55. I'm gonna have to rework that a tiny bit either way, honestly. Don't like the look of it at all, but I don't think whatever we do here just to get water depth world space, it's not worth it. And eventually we want to get it in some other way, so let's see. Terrain data said 0. Let's do this. Ooh, yes. Yo, good morning, Ferda. Okay, we have the same result. We have removed terrain data Z0, that's good. We'll remove it from here. And then we want to remove it from here as well. We don't need terrain data texture. Let's remove that one. Input data. Okay, beautiful. Let's do scripts. Render features. I think render terrain data texture. We're gonna keep this render feature around. We're not gonna remove it. Not the implementation, but we're gonna remove it from our settings at least. So I don't think we need render terrain data texture anymore. Rafalf, you're a good dev, some very skilled devs. I like your videos. Hope you get some good recognition soon. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Okay, so now we have removed one render feature. We have pretty much no difference in the visuals of things, so that's very good. Let me just commit this real quick. We're going to commit procedural grass, procedural water. Yeah, settings we might want to include as well in this commit. Okay, so one sec. What is the docky? Assets, settings. Yes, and shaders, environment shaders, terrain procedural grass, and procedural water. Do we have some materials to go with this? And this one is related to what we have, environment, terrain. '83. '35. And then I also want to add it to grass, I think. 32. Okay. Yeah, what's up, Calvino? These Robin's Able guys really spam your project with pull requests. It's actually... it's issues. I wonder what his issue is. Okay, so that's those two. Channel swap shader. I don't know if we use... this is one of those things. So this one, channel swap shader. So this is a functional shader that swaps two channels for a texture. I think I want to keep this one around. I couldn't do it like that. It's extremely nitpicky. Terraform shader. Gonna do, let's commit this as we're gonna take functional shaders. Let's just add them both. Add latest functional updates. But this is related to, this is pretty much only related to water terraforming and terrain. So 85 and 89. Okay, object shaders, HLSL. Okay, so a few of these changes here are not really changes I want to keep. I did some hacky stuff this Friday and I pretty much only want to revert it, I think. Want to be careful here though. Yeah, temp, we don't want temp here. Remove this. And it's just a question of removing this one. With plain alpha clip, same stuff here. But I also did some other changes here, I think, or did I? Offset strength. Remove vertex bounds. I think we just want to replace this one. To normalize here. Let's keep it. Yo, what's up by me? I don't think... Did we destroy anything? Yeah, we did. Yeah, unfortunately now he's bald. It happens to the best of us, right? I mean, yeah, long time no see. Hope you've had a good time being away from this stream. Let's see. Yeah, it's this one that is a little bit too nice. So we want to go like this, maybe? Not really. 35. There we go. Okay, it's okay, it's okay. But, yeah, let's commit that one. Transparent blur box shader. Yeah, I want to keep this. And we're going to commit this as well. UV scale test shader, we can remove this one. Do we have an error here? Oh yeah. Normal VS. We only calculate it in here. Makes sense. Okay, so what do we have? Yeah, this one. Let's start with that one. Cell shade lit with plain alpha clip. I wonder. Um, 82. Okay. Pure screen space reflection shade. I wonder what we changed in this one. Oh yeah, we included this one. Yeah, that's true. What do we have? Shady Utils reflection is implemented the latest. So we include this one and outlines as well. We don't do anything with outlines for now. Let's do it like this before we commit this one. Test A. Let's do. I just want to add a shader variant where we use default parameters. Want to make it easy to switch between them, pretty much. Toggle override default settings. Something like that. Where do we have... And let's just try it real quick. Override default settings. Let's do... Okay, default settings. One thing here, however, pure screen space reflection, calculate reflection color with default parameters. Do we get... Do we have a case where we return color bigger than 1 for some channels? It sure as hell looks like it. Pure screen space. That's not good. Oh yeah. Or is this actually... Okay, so it's nothing with reflections. Yes, okay. Good, I noticed this one, so we want to do cell shade lit shader. Fog. Let's double check this. Need to fix these bounds as well, but let's see. What do we have? Double-sided material. Oh. So she lit with alpha clip. Or are we just too nice? Maybe. But 115. Okay. Cell shade lit. That's not good. And I know if we do 3, we're gonna get rid of it, I guess. Yes, okay. Okay, that's good to know. This is not. Yeah, definitely gonna have to look into this, but I'm not gonna do it now. So I still want to try the reflection thing. I'm just gonna do, let's take a look here. Improve cell shade. I can probably put it like that. Bloom. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. Okay, so let's just ignore that for now. It's not too bad. But pure screen space reflection. What do we have? Reflection plane, override default settings. Yes, and then we get that one. Okay, great. So we could also do override default settings. And then we do step length bounds 30. Okay. Still have no changes here, but we do have change here. Okay. Okay, that's that one. Let's remove this one. What did we have more? We had transparent blur box. We changed this one quite a bit, or pretty much. I think we just added support for lighting in this one. I think transparent blur box. Let's add that one. So when it comes to materials, what do we have? Do we have anything that uses this one? And I think we're gonna do, let's see here. Let's do this and let's see. Implement blur and distortion solutions. Yeah, I honestly think we're gonna resolve these now. Extremely old. Based on vertex normals, based on normal maps, and yes. Okay. That's not the correct one, but 71 is. Yeah, let's do it. Resolves 73 or 71. Okay, what more do we have? Gonna remove some stuff that's just laying about, not adding anything. I think we have materials, skyboxes. Can delete those two. What more? Materials temp. Don't want to keep this one around. Missing. I'm gonna have to look into this one later on. Let's just remove the ones I know we're not using. Okay. What do we have more? We have okay. Okay, we're starting to get to the bottom of this, or like having everything updated and committed. I just need to commit. What do we have? Eyewear sneakers. Yeah, let me just commit all the latest apparel as well. Real quick. See here. Oh, that's true. We might want to see glasses. We have material 1. Are these the same? Yeah. Delete that one. Yeah. We need to rename. Do we? Yeah. So what do we have? Changed the sunglasses, added glasses. Change sneakers. Okay. Default input actions. Have I changed this one? Maybe I have. Shaders, user interface shaders. We have some changes there as well. I wonder what. Yo, what's up, JJ Tockley? What keyboard are you rocking there? Yeah, I know it doesn't sound like a very. It doesn't sound very good. It's a very old keyboard. I don't even know. Some Razer keyboard from 2012, I think. Not even 2012, maybe 10. So what do we have? We have some shaders. What did I say? User interface shaders. There we go. We have changed terrain marker. Fuck, I really need to start commit more continuously. This is definitely some old changes here. Terrain marker. Grid offset. Okay, that's about it. Yeah, that's simple enough. So that's just a grid offset to terrain marker. But I want to relate this one to, I would say this is Terraform 85 and 89. Riffs a car. I'm trying. Is that a Stockholm accent? Yeah, it's close. It's Swedish at least. And then we have two changes to these two. These two are, okay, this one is okay. What do we have here? Rendered color. We sample scene texture instead of rendered colors. Okay, let me improve this one a little bit more actually. And then we have this one, scene texture ST. We use it here. Scene texture. So what I want to use instead here is our new file, scene texture HLSL. So pretty much everything, every object or everything that is transparent and needs to use everything that is transparent and is going to distort what's behind it in some way is gonna need to include this file, and this file will handle everything scene texture related. Right now it's very simple. We just hide the texture and 2 different samplers here, and we sample it like this. But we're probably gonna extend this, and then it's nice to have everything centralized here. So if we change the name of this one in the render feature, we can just change it in this file and everything else is handled, which makes me wonder. Now it should be okay. So instead of this, I want to use Super Chew, thank you for the follow. Nice name. So I guess we just want to do move up 1 and then move down to utils and scene texture .hsl. And then we can remove this one. And instead of doing this, we do rendered color plus equal to what did I call sample scene texture, but we have to be careful here. We want to do it, I think we want to do sample scene texture point level. Point level. And here we just need to send in UV and default blur level. Something like that. And then we want to do the same thing here. This one though, yeah, we don't use that one, but we might as well. Scale and offset. Nah, it scene. Nah, it's a very specific type of texture. It's always a texture that is as big as the screen, and yes, we can leave without that one. Super Chew, what type of game are you making? I have a nice video on my YouTube, Devlog 0, where I explain it, but to quickly summarize it, it's a cozy creature collecting and management game. It's not as much creature collecting as in like Pokemon games. It's more creature collecting as in Chow Garden and a very, very good game called Viva Pinata. So it's pretty much, you have this plot of land you take care of, you terraform it, you add trees, you add water, whatever, make it nice and cozy, and depending on how you terraform it, different creatures wants to come and move into your garden, and then you have to take care of them. And then eventually you can hopefully not fight with them, but compete with them. So simple mini games like racing or eating competition or beauty pageants, I don't know. Yeah, that's about it, I think. Yeah, I think so. We can remove, yeah, let's remove both of these. And I want to copy this one. And here we have something very similar as well. So rendered color plus equals to sample scene color point level. UV default blur level. Okay, let's see what we have here. It's a little bit fucked right now, but I think I'm okay with it. So if we zoom in, we currently only use these two shaders here. We use it to blur the background, and it's better seen here. And also we use it for some text as well, I think. Okay. So let's commit these two, and we're just gonna make the commit such that these two shaders utilize sceneTexture.hlsl instead of handling the texture themselves. Use sceneTexture or we can do make user interface shaders utilize sceneTexture.hlsl. And I think I have one issue related to this one. User interface, create temporary user interface. I'm pretty sure that's it. Okay. What more do we have? We have default input actions that is changed. To figure out exactly what is changed, I'm gonna have to open the source file. Never looked at the source file for input actions. So I'm gonna wait with that one. I don't think it's something very important. What more do we have? We have some textures as well. Yeah, that I might want to look into. So we have textures, let's see. What have changed? We have some new textures, environment textures, terrain textures. Yeah, we have this water test. Yeah, I'm growing tired of this terrain. But still, it's good to keep this one around because we have some edge cases we can test with this one. Although, this one I think we can remove. Water textures, we have caustics. Caustics split. Caustic split I don't think we use anymore. No, we don't. Do we have any other textures? Docky assets textures, noise texture. Yeah, we have this one, noise texture. This one we use quite frequently. We currently only use this for the water, so I'm going to rename it and put it in water textures here. Textures test code. Yeah, this one we can remove as well. Test normal map circle. I don't think we need this one. We have this one, that's enough. Yo, what's up, Penguino? No, our new devlog videos are still planned. Yes. I just recently started to do some video editing again by releasing some playful shorts, you know. But I'm really getting the urge to get back into devlogs, getting more into the depth of things. Unfortunately, I won't have any time for it at the end of this year, but I'm a little bit afraid of saying this because I don't know if I can hold my end on the bargain. But I'm planning to return to devlogs at the beginning of next year. So hopefully in January of next year I will be able to release a new devlog. Yo, what's up, DevSpios? Thank you for the raid, appreciate it. You too. Super Chew, are you Swedish by any chance? Yeah, that's spot on. I'm Swedish, born and raised, and still living here. And welcome to all the new viewers. Unfortunately, so far we're not doing exciting stuff over on this stream. Although I live and die by the phrase commit often, I have slacked off on it, so we're currently just cleaning up the project, committing every file we have laying around, removing files we don't use. And the reason for this is I want my project to be as clean as I can, because the next step is to extend one of the fundamental systems in this game. So we're gonna do a lot of changes and extensions. Deepak, what's up? How are you doing today? Okay, so this noise texture right here we're looking at, it's a noise texture that we convert to a normal map, so the name isn't really that great to begin with. We only use this one for the water right now, and that's how we want to keep it. It's not too much effort was put into this texture. We pretty much just did some random noise in GIMP, exported it to Unity, converted it to a normal map. So if you look at the water at certain angles and stuff like that, you can actually see some normal map artifacts and stuff like that. Eventually we're gonna improve upon this one, but we actually got quite a good result from this one. So I'm gonna keep it around, but we're gonna rename it to water normal map, I think, and move it into this one. And then we're gonna rename this one as well to water caustics yeah, let's just keep it like that. Deepak, can you please provide some guidance in shader development? I take it you're new to it. I don't know if I can give that good guidance. It's definitely a different way of thinking as opposed to the classical CPU programming. And one really have to understand that first and foremost. And then my only tip is experiment and write shaders often. And I have a set of links that are quite good resources. I can see if I can find them and post them. They are mostly related to Unity, however. Just give me a second, I can see if I can find them. Did that come out? Let me post them like this. There may be some nice resources. Let me post them in Twitch chat as well. There we go. Okay, let's see here now. So we have terrain texture water test. This one I want to keep around because I think it's a great to test with. Then we have renamed this one and this one. Do we have anything else? Yeah, I think I'm done after this commit. Then we can finally start doing some new stuff. Add environment textures. Related to '83. Let's take 36 in that one as well. 83, 85, 89. So 35, 36, 83, 85, 89. Okay, I think that's it. What did we end up with in this cleanup? 16 commits. TFO, thank you for the follow, appreciate it. So I'm a little bit nervous about this moving forward here. But the idea is to start extending, or we're going to work with terrain base, terrain data, mostly terrain data, honestly. So now we're going to see how good I implemented this. Because if I remember correctly, I think, yeah, I want this one to be a black box pretty much. Or I want most of my classes to be black boxes from outside and have good entry and exit points. But so this one is pretty much a wrapper around a native array color 32. The reason we did it like this is because we wanted the threshold between moving from data that is used on the we wanted data to be able to be used both on the CPU and the GPU, and we wanted to make the step between that as pain-free as possible, but it only led to working with this data on the CPU to be painful, to say the least. And Harry O, thank you so much for the follow, appreciate it. So I think, like, look at this, like some of the weird stuff we had to do since I chose to do it like this is stuff like, it almost hurts to show this, but yeah, this one, for instance, let's see, yeah, like this. Set data terrain type, data type, index, and then the value in question. We get the correct native array, old data, and this is the biggest problem, that it's stored in color 32 structs. Because when we set one channel here, we need to set all 4 channels. So this one is pretty much just, it's a mess. This is the worst. So this is what I want to change. And I think we're going to go with a purely, we're going to use native array. We're going to use native arrays. And I'm wondering if instead of packing data, instead of letting different types of data share one texture, I'm wondering if it's a good choice to only work with single channel textures, but I don't know. It also depends on exactly what type of data we want to pack. So for instance, currently we have something like, let's see, terrain data type. Currently, height and foliage share textures. When we have something like this, we could probably go with a color 32 texture. Because if one vertex change, so if this one changes data, for instance, then it's natural that this one, and this one also changes data. And here we can see another example of like water temporary. This one, although we pack it into the texture and the GPU has access to this one, it's not using it, and we never want the GPU to use it. This one is solely used to calculate the new stable state of the fluid solver. So yeah, let's see. It's terrain data type, terrain data, terrain data, terrain data type. We're gonna change the most. Terrain patch hopefully only calls. Yeah, it hopefully knows nothing about the underlying structure here at least. So we can leave this one as it is. I want to look into this one as well, because I've been thinking about, so if we take height data, for instance, I don't know if a texture is the best choice, or if we might as well pack it into color or UV. Then we have something called terrain point as well, which is mostly just used for the fluid solver currently. So if we could rework this one in such a way that we have the information of terrain point in here, so we can skip this one. Yeah, this is going to be quite a heavy rewrite. It's probably going to be so heavy, so big, that I want to do it on. Yeah, we're gonna do a separate branch and create a pull request eventually as well, I think. Gonna create a new issue as well. Mm-hmm. Unsupported, I don't care about that. I want to see if there's any pros and cons that I'm overlooking. Like, do I miss out on some, I don't know, hardware optimizations if I just go with single channeled textures? I don't know, a lot of weird stuff happens behind the scenes. Single channel says okay. Yeah, the sampling. Hmm. Sampling. Sampling is a heavier operation, if I understand correctly, but what makes it the heavier operation? Like, is... Not that this example is a little bit related to what I want to do, but maybe not fully. Okay. Yeah, this is what I worry about. So I wonder... ARGB 32. one ARGB32, but maybe that's the wrong comparison because of but I don't know if I care about this old hardware, but alpha channel. So for instance, one ARGB32 compared to 4 R8. That's pretty much what I want to get to the bottom of. Is 4 R8s preferable to 1 RGBA 32? Or in our case, it could be as brutal as, is 3 RGBA 32 preferable over maybe 1 RGBA 32, 2 RG16 and 4 R8s. Because if we take, when we render the terrain, for instance, currently I've been also pondering splitting that up, but that's another question. But currently the ground renders, it doesn't really need a height map currently, but I think we're gonna do it in the future, gonna need it in the future. But so for now it uses height map and foliage map for the grass. And let's say that currently we only have 4 terrain data types that we want to transfer to the GPU. So it's height map, foliage, water amount, and previous water amount, let's say. So we pack all of those 4 into an RGBA 32. When we render the terrain, we sample multiple pixels, or we sample that texture a lot, but we only care about the first 2 channels. When we work with the water, on the other hand, we only care about the blue and alpha channels, so the last 2 channels. So in that scenario, it would be comparable. Instead of doing 2 RGBA 32 samples, we do 1 RG16 sample and 1 R16, or 2 RG16 samples. Which means that we only sample half the, in memory terms, we only sample half the memory. But then again, if we work with caching and stuff like that, since both of these shaders run pretty close to each other, the cache might make it so that we don't have any difference. But I don't know. I know too little about this. It's just that I don't want to. I want to try and make sure that I don't commit to a solution that is worse in the end. But no matter how we do it on the texture side of things, we want to rework it on the CPU side of things, because we're going to work with this data a lot more on the CPU. That's not really true, but when we change the data, it's almost always going to happen on the CPU. I'm just thinking about like the fluid solver, for instance. It works a lot with the data, and currently we read it and alter it in a pretty weird way. I'm gonna save that link. Yeah, but isn't that just a question of setting up the texture the correct way? This is very interesting because, let's see here. It's a little bit related to what we're gonna do soon. So if we take the water, for instance, we want to support visual flow. So we need some data that explains what kind of flow we have, in what direction it flows. This is going to be calculated during the fluid solver automatically, pretty much. The flow is always going to be in the direction that the flood fill starts with. Or like, we always flood fill in the direction of the most gradient downwards. So how to calculate this data is not a problem, I don't think, but how to store it might be. So if we take, like, we want to have flow vectors, and we want them to point in yeah, I haven't thought about it, but having them in tangent space might be a good idea. But when we pack those, they are basically normals. So when we pack the water data, we might want to pack them into G and A, and then water amount in R, and then we might have previous water amount in B or something like that. Because I really don't want to calculate the water flow in the shader, because that means that we're basically going to have we're going to do some kernel-like calculations for each pixel, and we might get a problem when we in the separation between terrain patches. So this is very interesting. Actually, let me store this one later on. feels like if you take a look at Terrain Fluid Solver, the current implementation, it's a lot of move data, which fucking sucks. Yeah, definitely. I don't want to check apply data, I want to check move data. Yeah, look at this shit. So this is what I want to avoid. So the worst case scenario we had here is that we had two data types located in different textures because of this choice. So moving them was extremely costly, or switching them. Almost never happened, however, so that's... this. Yeah, fuck this. So what we would like to have is, we would like to have a structure on the CPU that is instead the classical way of doing temp is equal to A is equal to B, and B is equal to temp, but we can probably even do it without the temp variable. So instead of having a mess like this, we're working with data where we can just switch to pointers. Yeah, okay. I'm definitely going to create a separate issue for this. We're going to call it... I'm going to rework terrain data. It's going to be related to a lot of separate issues. When we have reworked this, we can probably resolve the other issues as well. And it's also good for research, keep everything organized. So let me create that real quick. Fuck me. Okay. I would say this is the main case. Extend it as here, and only send relevant extend it to be able to implement additional functionality and visuals. And then I want to have references to these. Let's do it like related to $110. Yeah. What did we have? Yeah, this is one thing I'm gonna have to work around. So if we work with, eventually we're gonna have multiple terrain patches. That's like a no-brainer, because we're gonna have quite a big garden eventually if we dig a hole or alter the terrain at some place. We don't want to update all of the terrain, only the specific area. So we're gonna update the specific, much like we do now, the specific vertices for the specific patch. But we can't isolate that information too much, because unfortunately when we calculate normals at the edges of these patches, we need information from neighboring patches, and that's why we see stuff like this. But yeah, I think the best approach would probably to rework this one first of all and make everything work with the reworked version. Hopefully the way I've defined these methods won't change too much, only what is actually done in them. We're gonna rework this one as well, I think. Yeah, so it's specifically this one I want to rework first. Oops. Redundant. Struct. I think this one is... What the fuck do we use this one? Terrain fluid solver. Ah, is it the old one? So we do use it here. Terrain point, yeah. This one is probably going to be the... It's not that much that I want to remove it entirely. I just want to rework this one as well, and I want to rework it in such a way that... Because when it comes to the water, currently we only have water, previous, water, temporary, timestamp. I don't know if I care about timestamp. We had it previously because I was thinking about doing some interpolation animation in the shader to make the water appear in a much better way. We're probably gonna have something like this. But like when we send the water related data to the GPU, to the shaders, I have to figure out exactly what data I'm gonna send, and I'm hoping that a lot of the data I'm gonna send is exactly the data we want and use in terrain point. So instead of using terrain point for the terrain fluid solver, we just use the terrain data itself. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I have a pretty clear picture of how we're gonna do this, and I think it won't be too much of a hassle. And we will have a result that is just better across the board, but also which we can use to finalize the water shader with some flow effects and some edge foam and some dynamic object affecting the water. Yeah, so this is, I'm just gonna dive into this tomorrow at the start of the stream, because I think today we're just gonna do a 3-hour stream. I don't know how the rest of the week looks, but we'll see. Okay, I'm optimistic. Maybe at the end of tomorrow's stream I won't be as optimistic, but yeah, we'll see. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Appreciate it, and have a great rest of the day. Peace.